Joy Reid performed a spiritual exorcism. She held up the mirror and asked the unanswerable, "You have total control. Why are you so angry?"
Why are y'all so angry? You have the White House, you have both houses of Congress, you have a Supreme Court that is completely obedient to your president. They're willing to give him unlimited power. They're willing to say that he can take SEAL Team 6 and kill anybody he wants. They were willing to affirm that. They're willing to say that ICE can racially profile anybody they want. The United States Supreme Court has said you can racially profile Latinos based on their accent or the way they look. You guys have everything you want. You have legal racial profiling. You've ended DEI. You've ended affirmative action. You get all the best jobs even if you're not qualified. You can be a Fox Weekend host and be the Defense Department's Secretary of Defense. You can be Kash Patel and be a podcaster who wants to go to Valhalla and run the FBI as long as you're conservative. You have everything. Why are y'all so angry? What the fuck are you angry about? You've banned all of our books. You've banned Black history. You banned the 1619 Project. You don't have to compete with women for jobs. You've chased them out of the military. You've chased them out of the senior positions in the Department of Defense. You've gotten rid of all the Black history in the museums. Museums are terrified. I have contacts that I'm talking to inside of the Interior Department, people who are running all of those spaces where you can go and see a Civil War memorial or something. The people who work in these places are terrified. They're afraid to tell the real history. The people who are working for the federal government are afraid to say the word Black. You guys have canceled Black scholarships. You're damn near, I guess, ready to get rid of HBCUs. Donald Trump just recently said they're not going to fund any minority serving institution. Y'all have gotten rid of that. You've gotten rid of help for Black kids to go to college. What more do you want? What are you so angry about?
Joy Reid named it. You got everything and you're still mad. What Reid performed wasn't politics or punditry, it was cosmic boundary setting. Their fury isn't about race or policy at all, but the convulsions of withdrawal, the collapse of a drug supply. Megyn Kelly let it slip.
Like, we don't feel like ourselves. We haven't felt like ourselves in a while. And I'm sorry to get political, but I'm just going to be honest. We haven't felt like ourselves since Barack Obama. I just think he was such a slick snake. You know, he was this affable guy who was like wearing good suits and looked the part and sounded the part and dressed the part, but was so divisive.
That was no offhand remark. It was a confession. For 8 years, they were forced into detox. Obama didn't inject race into politics. He revealed that race has always been there, and the wound it exposed was not pride, but concealed, unaddressed shame. You see, they built a system where one group dumped its darkness onto others and called it God's will. The plantation was never only about labour. It was a psychological graveyard, training entire populations to absorb white terror so the masters could sleep. Colonialism exported the same design worldwide, a network of shadow carriers designed to rebrand brutality into righteousness, and the machine never died. It just got a corporate rebrand and called itself professionalism. The system needed containers for every piece of darkness it refused to face. White women hold up patriarchy while men who couldn't find a clitoris with a GPS get to legislate their bodies. Black women became America's wet nurses, host mothers, feeding chicks that weren't theirs while their own offspring starved. Black men became sponges for white male violence, a projection that turned their bodies into a public ledger for sins they didn't commit. Working class white men aimed their rage downwards instead of up, becoming foot soldiers for systems that would discard them. Generations trained to carry shadows that weren't their own. Generations who believed that compliance was their only saviour. Obama's presidency was 8 years of forced confrontation. His grace, competence, dignity and intelligence in a slick suit broke their brains. Created a cognitive dissonance in people who'd built their entire identity on illusions of their innate superiority. It wasn't policy that drove the rage, it was the terror of detox, the dread of looking at themselves without their shadow hosts. Now they hold everything. The White House, courts, racial profiling, laws, book bans and crushed diversity programs, victory complete. And yet they are angrier than ever. That's what happens when the drug supply runs dry, when domination doesn't numb the void, when the frightened child under the armour discovers that power cannot anaesthetise shame. Joy Reid named it. You got everything and you're still mad. You see, the tantrum is spiritual. I know the pattern. I lived with a narcissist, believed that self-erasure was love, thought compliance was wisdom, and only when I returned the shadows to their rightful owner did healing come. That's how I recognise what's happening now. The empath is awakening. The shadow carriers are giving back the burden. The mirrors are refusing to lie. This isn't an apocalypse. This is a detox. The collapse of an old order that fed on other people's compliance. The supply is gone. The rage is pure withdrawal. And what comes after withdrawal is either redemption or relapse. This isn't the end of the world. It's the end of a world, the end of a system that survived by outsourcing its shame. The drug has run dry. The reckoning is here.